Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to my senior recital. I'm live right now from my living room, and I'm really, really excited to get to share this music with all of you. I've been working over the last few months to prepare and record this program for you, and want to talk a little bit about the music, hence the live stream. I thought this would be personal and a nice way for me to get to connect with all of you. My professor and I, Dr. Folks, and I were considering how this pandemic might affect my senior recital, and we considered a variety of options in anticipating any barriers that might come up. And this plan is the best that we came up with. We thought it would be best for me and would offer some unique opportunities. We've considered any potential lockdowns and rehearsing with a pianist. I'm lucky to get to play an instrument that has a wide range of repertoire for unaccompanied solo. So I've programmed music for only solo violin, and that has been a great experience. It's challenged my playing in levels that I definitely didn't think I would be at. And I'm very grateful for different experiences that I've gotten to have. I just played a Bartók duo for you, a duo for violin. I'm gonna play more of those for you and talk about all of that. So the first piece on the program is actually Bach's second Partita for solo violin in D minor. Now, Johann Sebastian Bach is a familiar name to us today, despite the fact that during his lifetime he was relatively unknown. He died in 1750, so around 25 years before the American Revolution, and after he died, his music was relatively forgotten because people thought it was old-fashioned. Until Felix Mendelssohn championed his music in 1829, so 80 years after he died. Mendelssohn performed St. Matthew's Passion and began the Bach revival, which has continued till today. After Mendelssohn performed Bach's music, people started rediscovering his manuscripts and playing his music, but they didn't regard it with the same respect we do today. They mostly thought of it as technique studies, etudes. It wasn't concert music until the 1930s, when cellist Pablo Casals decided to record all 6 of Bach's cello suites. And since then, there's been a movement in the music world to perform music in historically accurate ways that has really shone a light on Bach's music and led to more modern opinions that his music is some of the most profound ever written. And that's where I'm coming at this from. So he wrote 6 sonatas and partitas for solo violin, 3 of each, 3 sonatas, 3 partitas, around 1720. So 300 years ago. I think he would have been blown away if he had known we were still playing his music today. It's a staple of a string recital. If you're gonna have a recital, you have to play Bach, and it's wonderful. Now a partita is a collection of dances that they composed during the Baroque time that weren't actually intended for dancing, which sounds nonsensical until you consider that in the Renaissance, before Bach's time, instrumental music existed as dance music only, because sacred music in the church was vocal music, and then outdoor music for parties and occasions, special occasions, and with dancing and everything, that was where instrumental music existed for a while. And as instruments developed and became more respected and they wrote concert music for it, the tradition of writing dances remained. So the 4 movements of this partita that I'm performing for you are all dances. But as you'll hear, they don't sound cheerful at all. I also want to point out a couple of aspects of Bach's music that you can listen for. I think it will be interesting. for all of you to get to pay attention to these things. The first is the bass line. It's similar in all 4 of these movements. They all have very similar bass lines. You can really hear it at the openings, in the openings of each one. But the bass line in Bach's music is a little bit different than how we usually think of bass line. It's not confined to a lower range of the instrument. It can be in any range of the instrument. The violin itself isn't a bass instrument at all. But it still functions to signal harmony changes, and it provides structure. You can really hear the bass line in the opening figures of each one, and it sounds quite similar, but they're all in different tempos. So then the other aspect of Bach's music is the repeats and ornaments, the tradition of adding ornaments in the Baroque time. They're improvised little embellishments, extra notes that I add that bring out the bass line or cadences or any other interesting areas of the music. And then the repeats are also my chance to offer my own musical commentary and bring out surprising harmonies or phrases or ideas that I didn't bring out the first time, perhaps. I like to think of the repeats as watching a movie for the second time and getting all the good lines missed the first time. So each of the movements is split into 2 sections, and each of those is repeated. So that's another great thing to listen for. And then before I play my recording, I want to talk just a little bit about what playing Bach has meant to me. His music has an inherent spirituality and depth that has made it really powerful for me to experience. It's very meditative. I think the profundity of Bach's music manifests itself in that I've never felt like I've fully discovered how to play it. It always seems to elude me. Some part of it eludes me. And I think that makes playing his music a lifelong journey. And so I'm really excited to share this recording with all of you. Well, technology seems to be working so far, so we're going to hope that that continues. The next group of pieces in the program are selections from Béla Bartók's 44 duos for the violin. So I played one at the beginning called Pillow Dance, and I have 4 more for you. I want to talk a little bit about Bartók and then about my recording process for these. So Bartók was a Hungarian composer and was one of the first ethnomusicologists. Ethnomusicology is a field of music that focuses on study of culture, the culture of the people who make the music, and how the music functions in the culture. So Bartók pioneered this field by traveling the countryside of Hungary and Eastern Europe and recording folk music with wax cylinders, which was quite unusual at the time. He wrote these duos in 1931, and again, there are 44 of them. I've selected 9 for this program, so I'm going to split it up. I'm going to play 4 for you now, and then there are 4 later on. So recording these was an interesting process. I learned a lot about video editing and sound editing and all of that. But the process of actually recording them, instead of recording both parts with metronome and then just putting them together, I recorded the part with the most rhythmic activity with a metronome in one earpiece. I didn't put it in this ear so that I could actually hear what was going on with the instrument. And then I uploaded that video to YouTube and recorded the other part with my past self, which was an odd experience. But recording it that way allowed for a more organic recording. I'm never going to play with the metronome completely. And so recording with myself allowed, I could give myself cues. It allowed for cleaner cutoffs, and I could play with timing a little bit more. So that was really interesting to do. And I have to give credit for the process to Dr. Folks because that's his idea, and it worked really, really well. So the 4 I'm going to play for you are Transylvanian Dance, Fairy Tale, Sorrow, and Pizzicato. They're pretty short and sweet, so I hope you enjoy them. I am very proud of how this recital represents my interests and passions as they've grown at UNC, specifically in early music and in new music. And the composer of the next three pieces, Garth Knox, is a huge figure in the music world as far as writing new music. Classical music is still very much evolving and developing, and people are coming up with new ways of writing music, much of that for the same instruments that we've had for many, many years, which you'll hear in this music for sure. So Garth Knox is a violist and performed viola with the Arditi Quartet, which is a world-renowned contemporary music ensemble for several years. I want to share a quote from his website because it really represents his music. It says that it combines groundbreaking innovation in string technique with joyous pleasure in the act of music making. And I've actually seen this firsthand because he got to come to UNC and I got to see him a couple years ago, and it was incredible. His recital was absolutely so inspiring and definitely one of the most impactful performances I've been to at UNC. So I got to work on some of his music this semester, and it has been a privilege. I've enjoyed it so much. So he wrote a set of pieces for violin called Violin Spaces, and they're based on extended techniques for violin beyond just instrument bow, and it goes back and forth on the string, and your fingers go here. It explores a lot of different techniques involving harmonics and bowing in weird places, and you'll see it's really fun. The idea behind Spaces is that he wants these to be explorations of these techniques. They're opportunities to explore and improvise and make cool sounds on these instruments. So these were written in 2017, so they're really new, which is super cool. It's a little bit rare that we get to play music by a living composer, or we have to be really intentional about it, maybe. So the second piece in his set of 8 is called Up Above Our Heads, and that's the first one in my selection. It is focused on harmonics, which are a technique produced by lightly touching your finger on the string. It's a little bit hard to explain, so I'm going to show it to you. They're based on mathematically related frequencies and physics. That's amazing, but I don't know much about it, so I'm just going to show you. But there are, if you divide the string into parts, halfway, third, fourths, etc., and you lightly place your finger there, it will produce a harmonic. So I'll show you this one. This is the pitch I get if I put my finger down normally. And here's the pitch of the harmonic. So the sound produced is very pure and almost flute-like, I would say. There are a few other techniques in Up Above Our Heads that Garth Knox invented himself and has named whatever he wanted because it's of his own invention, which is really a really cool aspect of new music. So I want to play those for you so that when you hear them in the piece, you'll recognize them. The idea behind Up Above Our Heads is that it's inspired by stars. So the first one that I want to play is called Trembling Harmonics, which sound like that. And I just realized maybe you can't see my hand very well. The second one is called Shooting Star Harmonics. And the last one is the Seagull Effect. So those were all super fun to learn how to do, and I hope that you enjoy listening. So here is Up Above Our Heads. The next piece that I'm going to be playing for you by Garth Knox is number 5 from Violin Spaces, called No Pitch, No Problem. And the extended technique that this one's based on is noise. Garth Knox himself describes this best, so I'm going to read his program notes to you. So he says, pitches and notes are of course extremely important elements in music, but it is perfectly possible to make music without them. We immediately become more aware of rhythms, textures, durations, and relative pitches when undistracted by notes. In this piece, 4 types of noise elements are presented, and inside each group, contrasting examples are compared with each other. This allows us to think in the most basic terms of music: long or short, high or low, loud or soft, resonant or dry, etc., and to consider the rich timbres and textures which appear as being the main musical content of the piece. So I hope you enjoy No Pitch, No Problem. right, and last from Garth Knox is Ricochet, which is a fantastic pun because this one is based on extended bowing techniques, and ricochet is an actual bow technique. So, in this one, I think you'll definitely hear Garth Knox's Irish-Scottish roots. I'm going to also read his performance notes for you because they help a lot for explaining it. So he says, the bow has a life of its own, and if it's allowed to move freely, unrestricted by a too heavy hand grip, it can perform amazing feats and produce incredible sounds. Instead of following its normal fixed track, here the bow bounces vertically up and down, skates sideways along the string, or goes in circles all over the fingerboard, turning over to use the wood of the bow as well where necessary. Experimenting outside the normal directions and actions leads to a more complete understanding of the bow, how it works, and what it can do, and greatly increases the control we have of it when we return to normal playing. And I also want to mention a technique that he uses towards the end that he calls helicopter stroke, and it's performed really close to the frog of the bow, which is the part that you hold in your hand, with small circular motions and overpressure, and it sounds like a helicopter blade, so he named it helicopter stroke, and I'm sure that you'll be able to hear it. So here is Ricochet. So next, on the other end of the historical spectrum, is Biber's Passacaglia. So this piece was written before 1676 and is a part of a set of sonatas that Biber wrote called the Mystery or Rosary Sonatas, because they're based on the 15 mysteries of the Catholic Rosary. This piece is one of the earliest known surviving works for solo unaccompanied violin. So literally the exact opposite of history. A Passacaglia is a musical form that really mostly existed during the Baroque time and pre-Baroque. It's a more serious character and is based on a bass line that repeats over and over throughout the piece. It's based on this bass line. So I'm going to play the bass line for this Passacaglia for you all. The entire piece is just based on these 4 notes. And if you'll recall what I said about the Bach, that is also true in this piece. It, most of the time, exists in the lowest voice, but occasionally is played at the top of whatever chords I'm playing, so that can be something interesting to listen for. But the bass line is just G, F, E flat, D. And that is it. The entire piece is based on just those 4 notes, and it's quite incredible. Biber himself was a virtuoso violinist of his time, and his writing for violin in this piece and in these sonatas is quite revolutionary, because he wrote for the violin with polyphony, which is writing multiple simultaneous voices, which is one thing when you're writing for a choir and quite another for solo violin. So his work in this area really led the way for Bach's polyphonic writing in his sonatas and partitas, which were written about 50 years after this. So the partita I played at the beginning is about 50 years after this Passacaglia. I want to share with you all a little bit about how I feel about this piece, because it's been really healing for me to get to play this semester. The spiritual nature of it really lends itself to a spirit of meditation and a mindset of calm that has been really helpful for me to play and work on. So I hope that it offers something beautiful for all of you as well. So here's Biber's Passacaglia. So next I have a few more Bartók duos to play for all of you, as I promised earlier. But before I play those, I want to be sure and let you all know that I've been seeing the live chat, and it means so much to me. Your virtual applause means the world. So thank you all for being here. The next 4 Bartók duos are Bagpipes, and then a variation on Bagpipes. So those 2 are kind of a set all of their own. And then New Year's Song and Arabian Song. So I hope you enjoy. last on the program is Ysaÿe's third sonata for solo violin, nicknamed Ballade. Ysaÿe lived from 1858 to 1931, so he died the same year that Bartók wrote the violin duos. Ysaÿe was known as the king of the violin for his virtuosity and expressiveness. He wrote these sonatas in 1923, so there are 6 total sonatas that he wrote for solo violin. And that number of 6 sonatas is very specific because he was obsessed with Bach and intentionally wrote 6 sonatas just like Bach wrote 6 sonatas and partitas for violin. So there are a lot of places in which you can see Bach's inspiration from Bach, I suppose. Ysaÿe's music is a little bit less revolutionary for the music world at large, but he really pushed the ceiling on violin playing and explored what was possible for the instrument. As a violinist himself, that really affected his composition of these sonatas. His music is tonal, it's in D minor, but it definitely pushes the harmony outside of the boundaries a little bit. But he doesn't do that through a complex knowledge of harmony, more just in considering what's possible for the violin. This piece was a real privilege to get to play. Freshman me would not have believed that I would be playing it, and it was really incredible to get to prepare. So I'm excited to play it for you all. One other note is that it was dedicated to George Enescu, who was a great violinist of the time and was a teacher of Yehudi Menuhin, who is another legendary violinist, which brings up the subject of teachers and gives me an opportunity to thank mine. I have been really fortunate to work with a lot of incredible people and musicians, and I wouldn't be out here without you guys. I want to specifically thank Lonnie Obluda, Tom Nugent, Bob Kreutz, the incredible UNC faculty, and especially Dr. Folks. Thank you for everything. And I have to thank my family, my parents, and my brother and sister, and my friends. You guys are my support group, and it's a bit sappy, but it's really true. I really mean it, that I wouldn't be here without all of your support, and I thank all of you for the many, many concerts you've attended, and you all mean so much to me. I also want to be sure and thank Grace Reformed Church for allowing me to record in their lovely space. They were so kind and hospitable towards me, and it was really a privilege to get to record in their space. So I'm going to end the live stream after the Ysaÿe. So I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and listening to my music. I hope it's been an impactful experience for all of you. I hope that you'll say hi afterwards, shoot me a message or something so that I can connect with all of you. I wish you all health and a joyous holiday season, whatever that looks like this year. So here's the Ysaÿe.